Gentlemen, welcome. My name is Chris, and of course, this is bar none 11970. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch the live debate. And we're going to do a little bit of a discussion. So I want to thank anybody that stuck around. And let me just shut something off to see if there is an audio problem. Give me a second. All right. Let me know if that continues. Let me shut down everything else. I think I have another thing going here. Okay. How's the audio? Is there an echo or anything right now? If anybody can let me know. All right. Well, what we want to discuss is I'm going to give my reaction to what just happened. And anybody who wants to chime in, ask any questions, you are more than welcome to. Um, I have to say that, first of all, I want to say that I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit I actually thought there was not going to be a debate. So I was proven wrong with that, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to admit when I'm wrong. So I made a video a couple of weeks ago saying why there won't be a debate. I'm actually shocked that it did happen. So I wanted to start off right off the bat that I was wrong with that. So with that being said, um, I have to say I'm very disappointed in this debate. I originally thought the reason that Hillary's people would never allow the debate is because Trump would eat her alive. And I have to say that that was probably the calmest I've ever seen Trump. He got one or two jabs, but most of the time while Hillary's talking, he's nodding his head in agreement. That gives her more authority. I really think, to be honest, as much as I would hate to admit it, I think Hillary won that debate. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be the first person to say I know the system is rigged. I've made videos talking about how these two are friends, so this doesn't really surprise me. But I will have to say that I was a little shocked that he did bring up the Fed at least for a second, and he did talk about the bubble, and he did bring up the emails, but he hardly ever talked about the fact that she passed out at 9/11. He did make a reference to it. He briefly talked about the emails. He could have easily gone into that a lot more. And I really think that he threw in the towel on this one. Now, Blue Steel, I definitely agree with you. He threw this debate. Whether that's done on purpose or not doesn't really matter to me. And like I said, either one of two things is going to happen. Somehow Obama's going to get a third term because there still is a chance with October 1st and all these other things that I've talked about in other videos might be happening, or Hillary's going to become president. I am disappointed in how Trump basically took blow after blow. He was mostly on the defensive. He was very timid. It's just, to me, extremely disappointing. Now, some people are talking about the prices of silver and everything. Let's look at what the current is for that right now in case anybody's interested. Right now, silver's at $19.41. It's only up not even 1 cent. Gold's down 0. Now, I did look at the futures of the Dow Jones that's going on. Now, the market in the United States closed at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Up until around the debate started, it was down below 18,000. And since then, it's risen to 18,107. So it's gained over 100 points since the debate was going on. So I find that interesting. But I do have to say, and I would love to hear people's opinions on this. I mean, he um, just was not very presidential tonight. And one thing that bothered me a lot is they were talking before the debate started, and they were saying how they wanted the audience to be silent, and they allowed a lot of times when Hillary said stuff to cheer without any reprimanding. I also noticed that the moderator, his name was Lester, interrupted Trump on several occasions. And when I was watching before the debate, I was watching a little bit on the CNN, the Clinton News Network propaganda channel on YouTube. And it's just these. I really wish if people could go there, they would just literally just smack him on the top of the head and say, "What are you thinking?" And it's so pro Hillary, it's not even funny. And this debate definitely is going to open a lot more eyes to the Hillary campaign. And I can't say whether Trump was either nervous or he just was part of this play that I've been saying has been going all along, but this was relatively boring, uneventful, and that's the most timid I've ever seen Trump. And this debate, the media is already on Hillary's side. They are going to have a field day with this one. And I think Trump, unless the next debate he comes on fire, and I've said all along that the system is rigged anyway, so this stuff doesn't surprise me because they do work together. And Scott Silver is not at $56, so I don't know where you're getting that from, but yeah, that's not the case. So please don't be spreading misinformation. Um, all I know is that this was very disappointing, very lackluster, and Trump did not bring any issues. Now, of course, this debate, they were just going to give things. They talked about racism, they talked about ISIS, things like that. They didn't talk really about the economy and the Federal Reserve and the things that are important for us. Hillary did sneak in something about gun control, even though she didn't use those terms. Um, I just would love to hear what people think about this. Scott, just so you know, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but silver is still at $19. So wherever you're getting your information from, Kitgo, there has to be some kind of error because it's not going to go from $19 to $50 that quickly, even if there was a crisis. So I just want to let you know. So let's hear in the comment section, what do you think is going to happen? Now, there are going to be two more additional debates, and thank you, Dan Wolf, for that. Also, just to let people know in the chat section, um, we do not allow cursing here because I get people of all ages, so we want to make sure it's something clean. Now, I'm not telling people how to think. I'm just asking you to leave comments without the need to curse and everything, just for the respect of everybody, and especially if there's minors. So anybody cursing, it will not show up. So try and make your points across without having to curse. Sometimes YouTube just deletes things because that's just how they are, but I do control that as far as cursing is concerned. So Scott wants to continue saying silver's going through the roof. If you want to believe him, that's perfectly fine. I've already checked it; it's still at 19. So Scott, I don't know what you're trying to prove with that, but silver is not at $50. So what do you guys think about this? They did. It did sound a couple of times like there was either a laugh track or an applause track. Now whether that happened or not, I can't prove that. Um, it sounds like, because I mean, me being a DJ for so long, I know what it's like when you transition and you have to lower volume really quick. It just seems unnatural when a crowd is making noise and all of a sudden it just dims down very quickly. Um, could it happen naturally? I guess it's not impossible. But a couple of people that were listening while the debate was live actually said the same thing. So, okay, so Scott is going to do nothing but things that are going to get him banned. So, Scott, you had the opportunity, it gave you plenty of chances. So, you have a good night. Okay, that's all right. Scott is gone. Um, I definitely agree. Bleep, and he's got a long name afterwards. He says, if it's all planned and scripted, then Trump has no idea. He's cheesy, but there's no way he's a part of it. I seriously doubt that. I've said for a while, Hillary was at his wedding. He's in his own voice, in own interviews, has said they have been friends for decades. So, you know, they put on a good show, and that's what I think this was. I just honestly, I was expecting, first of all, it not to even happen at all. So I will be, the first to admit I was wrong there. But it just seemed too timid for Trump. It did not seem like the way he normally is. Now, whether that's scripted or not, obviously all we can do is give our best bets. Now, obviously, if you're a Hillary Clinton fan, you're going to be very happy with this debate because, first of all, you didn't get humiliated. She didn't pass out. She stood her ground. And one of my subscribers made actually a very keen observation. I didn't notice it until they pointed it out. I wish I remember who said it. But when you saw the split screen, one of the things that they noticed, and good job with this, is that Hillary's camera was a lot crisper and clearer, and Trump's was a little bit dulled. Also, I noticed they had the cameras so Hillary looked the same height as Trump. And those are little kind of Hollywood tricks to make it seem like, she's sturdy and she's strong and can stand up to Donald Trump. It's just, to me, the facial expressions say everything. And you saw that Hillary, and if I had my choice, if this was a legitimate thing, which I've told people, this is a corrupt system where the votes don't count, and it doesn't matter who's president. Presidents don't run anything; they're just punching bags. Um, if I had my choice, if this was a legitimate thing, I would have wanted Trump. But Hillary won this one, but for the fact that she didn't get plummeted like so many people thought, and that's disappointing. Now, again, this could have been scheduled this way. It could have been planned this way. I didn't like the fact that they couldn't look at each other, and every now and then when they did, they would smile a little bit. And I think that's why actors, a lot of times, to stay in character, they try not to do eye contact because they can tend to smile or break into laughter. So, I mean, this is all for show. The fact that Donald Trump pulled his punches, to me, is, in my opinion, a warning sign of things to come. And I'm really thinking this is just not going to go anywhere beneficial. So let's see if there's a couple of. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to everybody out there that's, not only watched my last live show, is watching this one. I made sure I took off the AdSense on the live debate, so this way I could stream it without them trying to take it away. So I did that for you guys. So anybody that could give that a thumbs up or share it or anything on my video, even this one, I appreciate that because it helps and I want to get information out. And I knew there might have been people without cable TV that wanted to see these debates, so I wanted to do that for you. And 777 says it's all about money, viewership, and ratings. You're right about that. And they're going to get that. Was it a coincidence they did it on a Monday where when football basically just started only a week or two ago, and a lot of people was, going to be focused on the football games? I don't know. There's too many things that make me question this debate. I really thought that it would not happen because Trump would eat her alive. Now, he barely talked about the emails. He barely talked about her health. And it was just kind of, almost like two people that are pretending to hate each other, kind of nitpicking back and forth. Trump should have gotten way more aggressive. He was very timid, and that is going to affect a lot of voters. Now, obviously, I've told people, your votes don't count. As much as I would love for this to be a perfect world where our votes actually mattered, it isn't the case, because people would have wanted Bernie Sanders over Hillary, and they've already proven with the WikiLeaks that the DNC was rigged in Hillary's favor. So if you think that's the only time that's happened, or it's the only time that it will happen, I don't know what to tell people. So there's a lot of people watching this. So if you're watching my channel for the first time, I try my best to do as much truth as possible. My channel is dedicated on trying to see things from a common sense perspective. One of the videos I highly recommend you watch if you have not had the opportunity to see it. It's an hour and a half long, but it will teach you things in a very basic way, so even a person that doesn't understand this stuff can start to get the basics on what's really going on in this country. It's called The Truth About the United States Law and You. Now, there's two versions of it. The extended version is going to be a little bit more information. I highly recommend watching those. But unfortunately, votes don't count. Now, I think a lot of people they're tuned into this debate to see if Hillary Clinton could actually stand up there for 90 minutes and not pass out. So whether they medicated the living daylights out of her or whatever, I don't know, but she did make it through, so there was no catastrophe in that sense. And I think people are waiting for drama because people do love drama, and it shows even with my videos. If I do a video that's titled, something inspirational, if I do a live show, I'll get maybe 15 to 20 viewers. If I talk about possible death and destruction, or I talk about gold and silver and a possible collapse, it gets 50 to 75 viewers. So people do like the drama. And it's unfortunate. And until we start seeing things for what they really are, those things aren't going to change. And I think that's why Hillary won this debate, as much as I don't want to admit it, because I would be more of a Trump person than a Hillary person, is the fact that she stood her ground, that she didn't collapse, that she was smiling more. He was nodding his head and having to be on the defense with a lot of accusations, and he did not punch back. So, to me, this was a win for Hillary, whether we want to admit that or like it or not. And at this point, a lot of people, because like they say, first impressions mean the most. So unless something tremendously crazy happens in the next two debates, I think pretty much most people will have made up their mind after this one. And the news media will have a field day with this. And they are going to run with this nonstop. I mean, you could see during the debate, every time Trump was speaking, the moderator, who was supposed to be impartial, tried to interrupt him to the point where Donald Trump on several occasions said, can I finish? And, you asked me a question. So this, to me, just in my mind, and this is my opinion, yours can vary, but I think this was just a play. This was a stage, this was a show. This is two people that have been friends for years, where I don't think they actually took him seriously to get to the point as far as he did. But in my opinion, there's no way he's becoming president. I've said this for a long time, and I think this debate has kind of sealed that fate. Now, I would love to be wrong. Trust me, I would love for the system to be genuine and legit, and this be the first time ever that, what the people wanted is actually what we get. But I cannot see it, as much as I would love that. And that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. There's going to be a lot of people that are so into Trump, and they're so going to be blinded by it that they're not going to listen to reason. And they'll make every excuse for this debate. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, the people that watch videos like mine and others like this, we're in the know, but we're the minority. The average person out there is going to base everything on what they're told. And since the mainstream media is probably 98% Hillary Clinton, they are going to take every positive clip out of this, and they're going to run with it. And the average person who bases things not on facts, not on research, not on the issues, but the personalities, they will see Hillary Clinton came out very strong in this debate. Now, albeit a very boring one, but I think she wins just for the fact she didn't crumble like so many people did, well, thought that she would. And Donald Trump came out very weak, very defensive, and just was not his typical self. So you have to ask the question, was that done on purpose? Was it, something where he was nervous? Because he had the opportunity in the beginning to take a couple of jabs, and he did that. But then he just basically stopped. And that is disappointing. So I think, in my opinion, this is just a show. This is just a play. This is to get everybody to pay attention while they create some other law behind our back. It's another distraction because remember, especially if you haven't watched my videos before, I talk about the fact that on September 30th, we have our country in the United States of America Corporation about to hit its debt ceiling again, which means they're going to raise the debt ceiling. There was a reason why they created a debt ceiling, so this way we would be fiscally responsible. But when they keep raising it, that means more interest, more money, or more currency borrowed. They keep doing this for a reason. And that is why we get poorer and poorer. And Donald Trump talks about our military, and our jets and everything being, as he quoted, your grandfather or fathers could, fly them. Well, we have the highest budget in our military than the next 10 countries combined. So if we spend so much on the military and we have a depleted military, like Donald Trump says, well, where is all that money going? It's probably why every politician is not dirt poor and they get chauffeured around in limos and live in very fancy houses and have their own private jets and private security, is they're stealing the wealth from all of us. So I watched this not because I was really concerned about who was going to win. I watched it as an observational point of view, and it verified to me even more that this system is rigged, it's a play, and they're there to just suck you in and make you just listen to the certain things they wanted to focus on. They will never talk about things like an Executive Order 11110. And if you're not familiar with that, please look it up. That's one of the reasons that Kennedy, in my opinion, was assassinated. And Monk talks about abolish the Act of 1871. That's another one, and that's primarily what my video, The Truth About the United States Law and You, is all about, is the Act of 1871, where the U.S. is a corporation, and it filed for bankruptcy in 1933, the same year, coincidentally or not, that they were going to confiscate gold, and they took it away from the people. They won't talk about these real issues. They won't talk about the fact that the Federal Reserve is a private-owned bank, and we continue to borrow money which we owe. If you have a credit card, and you have a $10,000 limit, and you reach that limit, and then when the credit card company says, okay, you owe us money, and you say, well, I can't afford it, I don't have the money to pay you, well, the wrong thing for the credit card company to do is say, oh, okay, we'll extend it to $20,000. We'll give you another $10,000 credit. And you'll be happy, and what will you do with that $10,000 in credit? You'll go on a spending spree. So you'll spend that $10,000. So let me ask you, if you couldn't afford to pay the $10,000, how are you now going to be able to afford the $20,000 with all the more interest on top of that? And then you go, the credit card company comes to you and says, okay, you owe now $20,000 plus all the interest on top of that. We need you to make a payment. And you say, well, I can't afford to make the payment. And they go, oh, you can't afford to make the payment? Well, let's give you $40,000. That's what's going on with this debt ceiling. We continue to borrow money, well, currency, from a foreign bank called the Federal Reserve that does not sell anything, does not produce anything, does not manufacture anything, and yet they have trillions of dollars that just hand out whenever we ask for it. And the people think, oh, well, that's great. It's making our country wealthy. Look at all the money that we spend. It's not money that we own. It is money we are borrowing that you have to pay back. And if you don't pay it back, what do you think happens? How many of you out there have maxed out your credit card and not paid a payment, and the credit card company said to you, okay, we'll give you more credit? No, what do? They take away your ability to spend anymore, which limits the amount of damage you can create. But you will not see any of that being discussed in these debates, and my question is why? Donald Trump had the opportunity to put her in a coffin and nail down this election right here and there. And he failed to do that. Now, either he was unable to do it, or he was unwilling to do it. We'll never know. But what matters to me is not what happened, but what will happen. And you will watch tomorrow on the news all around the world. They are going to scream that this was a victory for Hillary. And the 99% who have no clue what's going on and they don't base things on research are going to believe every word that they're programmed to believe. And that is why I said over a year ago that Hillary was going to become president. And the only way Hillary will not become president is if there is, like I said, some potential situation that happens where Obama has to say, I need to stay in because of whatever event this might be happening. And it's just disappointing. And to me, and it's funny, it's like I was actually thinking, all right, I'm going to watch this debate with an open mind. I'm going to see it from an observational point of view. But I'm really hoping this is going to be a debate that everybody really cared about. And even they said themselves before the debate started that they were saying this is the most important debate ever. Well, why is that? There's got to be something more to this. If even the people that were moderating it and setting it up were talking about this is one of the most highly anticipated and most important debates in our history, why? Do they know something we don't know? Because you have a lot of events going on. And don't forget, October 1st, you have China entering the SDR, which is the special drawing rights. And they are potentially, they could change the course of the US dollar and the petrodollar. And sadly, the average person has no clue about special drawing rights or the petrodollar. The people that come here and watch videos like this, they pretty much are in the know, but we are the minority. And that is why when I make my videos, I don't try and say, you know what, I'm going to make a video just because I want it to be dramatic and different and I want to make people mad. I talk about what I feel is going to happen based on the reality that we're being presented. And this system all around the world is rigged. And this is just a show. Our votes don't count, and I have many videos that actually show you and tell you why your votes don't count. And I know people want to believe that things are going to be different. Well, if politics was all about honesty and integrity and working for the people, then why is it that we've had a nation since basically around 1776 and we're not anywhere closer to perfection than when we started? It's gotten worse. So if government was there to help the people, then why are the people still suffering? They tell you everything that you want to hear. And all this debate did was just, two people that hardly like each other, at least that's what they make you think, said a couple of little shots here and there that were minor. They could have easily Trump could have had a field day with the fact that the FBI agents were getting immunity and they were covering up for her and how it's an outrage. He could have talked about the fact that, do you want a president that's going to collapse and faint? And she gave some good shots talking about, well, if you did hours upon hours and months upon months of traveling, let's hear about your stamina. And he had no comeback for that. And that's one of those, oh no, she didn't kind of moments. And people are going to react to that. So, I mean, you can try and be on the Trump train and say, oh, well, this is fine, or make any justification. The thing about being in any either Democrat or Republican Party, if you're in one or the other, it limits your perspective to a certain pigeonholing where you can't have any other ideas because then it's just different. My thing is, when people get rid of all political parties and just have human beings who want to try and make the system better for the people and they get to try and become president, then maybe we'll have a system. But this is basically wealthy people. You have Donald Trump, who's very wealthy. You have Hillary Clinton, who is very wealthy. And they're trying to tell the common people, the ordinary people, the regular people, which they love calling us all the time, how they understand our situations and how they're always going to make it better. How many decades do we have to allow these rich elitists to continue to control us and then basically condescendingly say they know us? I mean, are things good? I don't think so. I mean, is everybody walking around with their prosperity and enough money in their pockets to be able to buy all the things they want and need, and everybody's going on vacations and everybody's happy? Well, the riots in Charlotte and many other places prove that wrong, because if it was all about the life of a person or persons, depending on the riots, well, they would have no need to break into places like Walmart and other businesses and go and rob and loot them, because if they were all financially secure, they would have no need to steal. So if you want to think that, like, for example, the Charlotte riot is all about them, bringing justice to the African American community and, being on the side of a victim, well, going around destroying public property, going around robbing people and breaking into stores does not tell me what they're trying to say is accurate. So to me, our thing's better. And it's just condescending when I hear people like Hillary and Obama and other people saying, oh, the economy's doing well. Well, they're giving you partial truths because they don't say who it's doing well for. It's doing very well for them. That's why people like Obama can play so much golf. And Monk Fuji says, Chris, can we design a pyramid to wake everyone up? I got the frequency right here. I wish it was that easy, because trust me, when I make my orgone pyramids, if I could have a pyramid that I could sell that could wake everybody up, I'd be a millionaire overnight. So I don't have an answer to that one, but that is a funny little question. What do you guys think about this? Now, do you think Hillary won this? Do you think that Donald Trump won this? And be honest. Like I said, if I thought this was a legitimate thing and I had the choice between the two, I would rather be pro-Trump than pro-Hillary. I think Hillary's a criminal. I think she should be locked up. But Hillary clearly won this debate because Trump decided, for whatever reason, to hold back. It was almost like watching a boxing match where Trump is Mike Tyson and Hillary is Pee Wee Herman, and Mike Tyson is just basically saying, here, punch me all you want, and he'll come in with a couple of jabs when he could have went straight out with a knockout punch. And he didn't do it. So the question is, why? And the sad part is, we will never get the true answer. We will get things that sound good. We will hear things that may even make sense. But is it the truth? So I think, and somebody asked me a question earlier in the other live show, and they said to me, who do you want to win? And I guess he was expecting me either to say Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Do you know who I want to win in this debate and in this presidency? We the people. And until we see it as we the people, whether you are black, whether you are white, whether you are gay, whether you are straight, whether you are an atheist, whether you are Jewish, whether you believe in cabbage as your god, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, we are all human beings. And Monk Fuji says, hey, Alex, are human beings corporations? Not human beings, but persons are. Citizens are. You have to learn the legal mumbo jumbo. There's legal limbo, and I make videos talking about this. One of the things I highly recommend you get is the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition or earlier. And thank you, Tulian Zula says Chris would have done a far better job. And the funny part is, number one, I'm not part of an elitist family, so I'd never be able to even remotely get close. Number two, I don't have millions of dollars to be able to finance a campaign, so I would not financially be able to survive. And number three, people would have me executed if I tried to speak about the truth. Or they would mock it and say it's some conspiracy theory. And that's what they do. They laugh at things. I was listening to 1010 Wins. It's a radio talk show today. And they were doing a live broadcast from Hofstra University hours before the debates. And every time somebody came on and tried to bring up a logical point, they were basically instructed, or just did it on their own, to start laughing and insulting the people. So instead of having intellectual dialogues and discussions where we could maybe learn something, they're there to mock the person, make them feel foolish, and then dismiss them. And the sad part is, the average people out there will take that. Because I remember back in 2008, before I was quote-unquote awoken and I knew nothing about this stuff, to me, Obama could do no wrong. And the Democrats were amazing, and I used to watch MSNBC and CNN, and I used to love those shows, and I used to hate the evil Republicans. And then I realized that the whole system is corrupt. There's a reason why, if you learn about symbolism, and most people don't appreciate or understand symbolism anymore because we are all intellectual and intelligent enough to be able to read and write. Well, for thousands of years, the average person could not read and write. It was usually just the clergy. They were the ones that did all the laws, and they wrote the Bibles by hand. Even kings and queens couldn't read and write. So a lot of laws and things had to be passed on through symbolism. There's a reason why we have an eagle, or maybe you could compare it to the phoenix. But you always see the eagle with the wings spread wide? Well, because it gives the illusion of division. And remember, you have a left wing and you have a right wing. But if you follow the wings inward, it's all connected to the same entity. And David Woodard says, question, what do they care about and what form of care is that? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Basic says, can you explain how a person's life can be manipulated due to the fact that they are a corporation? Well, think of it this way. You have to follow their rules if you want their benefits. And I'll give you a prime example. Let's say you work for a company that's called ABC Toy Factory. And let's say in your town, they are the only business in town. Now, for you to be able to get food and pay your bills, you have to work. So you can make money or currency to be able to pay those bills. So let's assume ABC Toy Company is the only place in town where you can work so you can get food for your family. So you're going to go there and you're going to have to follow rules. And they'll say to you, well, if you want to earn a paycheck so you could pay your bills and put food on your table, you're going to have to wear this uniform. You're going to have to come in on these days and you're going to have to do certain things. And if you don't want to do them, there's the door, but remember, you won't be able to buy your food and water. You won't be able to pay your bills. Now, there are also consequences. Let's say you get the job and you're getting a certain amount, and you have to work certain times, and you may not like the fact that you have to come in on Sundays to do inventory, and you may not like the fact that you have to wear these ridiculous outfits, but that's the price to pay to be working for that corporation. Now, let's say you work behind the register, and all of a sudden they count your register and they say, well, you're $500 short, so we're going to dock your pay. Well, you can complain all you want. Well, if you complain too much, they'll say, okay, there's the door. Or they can just take your money out of your pocket and you can't say a word because it's their business. So when it comes to being a corporation in the United States, they're going to tell you a lot of things that you need to do if you want to get things like welfare and all this quote-unquote free stuff that they give you. You don't have to participate, but if you want to have, for example, if you want to leave the country, you need to get a passport. Otherwise, you have to do it in an illegal way. Because if you think you're free, try and take all of your possessions, go to an airport or a boating place or anything like that, and say, I would like to leave the country. Do you think they're going to let you leave with all your stuff without stopping you, without taxing you, without asking for your papers? So you're part of a corporation, so they can actually create trust funds in your name. So they borrow your whole lifetime. They prepay for everything that you own and everything that you will ever do. They make their money back because throughout your lifetime, you will borrow money, you will use credit cards, you will maybe have to pay fines and things like that. So they make a probably $1 million investment on your birth certificate, and they turn you into a corporation, and they make billions. This is what people don't seem to understand. And if you look at my video, The Truth About the United States Law and You, especially the extended version, you will hear me for 90 minutes talking about this in greater detail. So I highly recommend people check into these things. And that's why, like they even talked about the 13th Amendment when it comes to slavery. What they don't really try and explain to you is the definition of the word. Because if you look up the 13th Amendment, they specifically call slavery a certain definition. They call it involuntary servitude. Now, they specifically put it that way because involuntary servitude means when you go to vote, first of all, you don't have to vote. But let's say you decide to go to vote. The government cannot put a gun to your head and say, here, you have to vote for this particular person, because that's involuntary. But if you do something on your own, then you are no longer protected by the 13th Amendment because you are volunteering your servitude. So you become a legal slave. That is why things like in law, when they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So the philosophist adventurer says, Chris, the Fed is no bueno, which means no good. We don't need them or any bank that isn't simply a vault. That's true, but yet tell anybody in government that. Tell the average person out there that doesn't understand this stuff. And like I said, here's the problem. People like you and I and others that watch videos like this all the time, we're in the know. We know about this stuff. We know that the Federal Reserve is a private-owned bank that's owned by shareholders from the very bank companies that we bailed out in 2008. We know the system is corrupt, but we are the minority. We're not even 1% of the population. But because we're surrounded by a couple of dozen, a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of thousand people, we seem to forget that there are millions out there that have no clue nor even care. And that's the problem. And that is why they get away with what they get away with all around the world, because we may hold up picket signs, we may complain, but we still consent. And it all boils down to no longer consenting. So we're going to continue to get these puppet shows with people like Trump and Hillary. And ladies and gentlemen, if the economy was doing as well as Hillary and Obama would lead you to believe, somebody like Trump would never even have reached this far because there would be no need. And Mung Fuji says the United States isn't a country, it's a corporation. That's absolutely true, but so is every country on this planet. And that's the thing that some people just do not grasp. The United States is not the only corporation that is pretending to be a country. Every country around the world is a corporation. You have the Holy Trinity. You have Washington, D.C., which is the military branch. You have London City, which is the economic branch. That's why you have the Bank of London. And then you have the Vatican, which is the third sector, the Holy Trinity. So it goes deeper than people want to ever think. There are always different layers. And as Roger Whittaker says, I do not consent. If more people in this world actually said that, then we'd have a better place in this world. So this video is about to end, unfortunately, because it's saying my video card froze. So I want to end this right now before it does. So I want to thank everybody for checking out my video. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button on your way out. Let's get a dialogue going, and don't forget to share this video. So thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody that left their comments. I'm sorry I'm cutting it early, but I want to make sure this doesn't get cut off. So thank you all for your support, and I hope you all have